In this video, we are going to see how to work with a React application when you are dealing with access tokens and refresh tokens. So here I have a login page where we are first going to authenticate a user, and we will be using the private key as well as public key to generate and decode the access tokens. Also, let me show you how it works basically. So we have email and password. You log in the user. It gives you the authentication successful, as well as it checks for the token if the token is valid and not expired. If it is expired, it is going to refresh the token after checking the refresh token. So how to implement this? Let's see this. Welcome to Zox. I'm Manu. I'm a senior software full stack developer. If you want to learn front-end and back-end technologies, I do release tutorials, video tutorials, as well as articles on a weekly basis. You can visit my website as well, which is zox.biz. To support me and join me, subscribe this channel. To start with, first of all, what we have here is I have the PHP application currently running. So I have 3 files here. Don't worry about anything else right now. So basically, in the www directory, I have a folder named keys, which is empty right now. And then there is a vendor folder, which basically for the packages. So we will be using single package. If I go to composer.json, there it is. It's Firebase PHP JWT to generate the tokens. And I will install it and I'll show you as well. Other than that, we have index.php, we have functions.php, and validate.php. Each file, functions.php is empty, index.php, we have a header on top here. Here we are saying, alright, that allow origin, and the origin is going to be the localhost 3001, so that we won't get the course error when we'll be working on this. We are calling functions.php here, and that is going to include all the functions that we create in this file. Then we have validate.php, also same, it is going to add the headers, and it's basically allowing the cross origin for this particular domain. And also the authorization token, if passed, that will be allowed as well. Alright, so this is for the PHP side. Now for the React side, we need to create a project. So I do this, I simply go here and see Google. So I will be using the Firefox. Here I say create React app. So it is gonna give us this link. Just go there, and it is going to give us a command that we need to run. So it's npx create command. Copy this. Make sure you have the node.js.org this software installed in your system. So download from here and install it if it is not already installed. So here what I do, I go to Visual Studio Code. Alright, so I created a folder here, token app, and I just dragged and dropped this folder in Visual Studio, and it opened here. There's no file inside it, so there's nothing showing. So what do we need to do? We need to open a terminal. So terminal, just open it. It will open the inside this directory. So you can see that token app. I paste the command. Now where we say app, my dash app, I can remove this and put dot. That we are saying generate the project in current directory. So I hit enter. Now it is going to run and put all the files for this project. Alright, now it says that we cannot use the camel casing. So what I can do, I can change it to token dash app like this. Alright, we need to restart the Visual Studio Code. Drag and drop again. Now it should be alright. So I go to yes, trust, then I go to terminal, and I paste the command and put dot for the current directory, and this time it will work. We need to wait till it completed. Now what we need to do, and we need to
simply say npm start, and it will start the application for us. Now in my system port, the 3000 is already in use, so it's asking for new port. If you get the same message, just say yes, so it will assign a new port. So yes. Alright, so 3001, our application is right there. I need to install a few more packages. So first is tailwind.css. We will be using it a bit, so just go there on this link, get started, and then you will see the installation. And so we need to copy this command, go back to Visual Studio Code. Here we can open a new terminal window, and we simply can run this command. And all right, this one is done. Now let's go and start the initial settings for it. So we need to copy this command, go back, paste. It is going to create a file for us, and there is the file. And go back to the page. Here we have some settings we need to copy. So I just copy this, and we need to paste it right here. Now we will be working with JSX files, or in case if you use TypeScript you need TSX files, you need to mention here, or by default it was HTML, so these files will be included and will be compiled. So make sure you have them here so you will see the changes. Other than that, we need to include the this in our input.css. So I copy this, go back here. Currently our project, if we go back here, we have this default page coming, so we need to first clean our application. So here, simply what I do, I go here and I delete whatever we don't need. We only need 1 or 2 files, 3 files max. So I delete all the tests here, and we don't need that logo. Index.js, we do need it. I don't need this web vitals, because we are going to work with the basic application straight now, right now. So anything extra needs to be removed. So you can see that we have index.css. This is the file where I need to include the code. So here I delete this all, paste this here, and it should be fine. Now if I go to index.js, we are fine here. Now let's get app test. We don't need this file, delete it. App.js. Alright, this is the file. What I do is simply delete everything from here so that it will be easy for us to see what is happening. I say h1, or just say hello for now so that we see what is happening. There is a logo imported. We don't need any logo here, so I remove that too. App.css, we don't need it. We only use one file. So we also remove from here too. So here you can see we only have 3 files: app.js, index.css, and index.js. So you just need to worry about these 3 files, that's all. To the browser, we see that we get hello. And if I inspect, go to console, there is no error so far. Alright, so far so good. So this tutorial is basically for the access token and how the process works. So I'm going to add the form here and behind the scenes, and I'm going to show you after that how that is working, so that we won't spend more time in designing and stuff. So I'll do that. Also, yeah, afterwards we will install the Axios and we go further. Alright guys, so here is the form. If I go back to the code, it's quite simple, nothing fancy here. I have the input. I created a form. There are a few classes added. These classes are added of Tailwind CSS. So as we are not working with the Tailwind in this particular video for learning, so I'm not going to explain much here. Basically, we have a form. These classes are giving all the styles. We have input 1, input 2. You can see that we're giving a border, we're giving the width, all that is happening here. On change, we are setting a state. So here we are setting password, here we are setting email. So there are 2 states I set up, which is here. email as set email, and then here I'm passing the default value as test at test.com and password as 1234, just to save time, so that when we be testing, I don't have to enter these values again and again. Here I have a button, which is simply type button, and I say here login, and there is some animation, basically the hover effect. So when you go here, it says hover. Alright, so one click of this, we first gonna log in, and then we're gonna deal with the tokens and everything. So what I want to do right now is I want to work with the primary key and the public key, private key and public key, sorry, so that we can then generate the tokens. So if we go to the back end of our application, we don't have any keys currently. It's empty. So we need to set up that. So for that, we going to write a function, and that function going to be inside the functions.php. And so let's do that. So first of all, it is a class, and I say PHP like this, and then we simply say the class name, and the class name going to be the functions. All right, and then here we can define our functions. So I want a constructor, so it's going to be public function underscore private public key. All right, because we need these keys values as an array values. So the first key going to be the private key bits. All right, and then you can change the size of it. It's basically we are defining the size. So here, then comma as it is array, and we need to define a type. So say private and key type. All right, and the type is going to be a constant. It's going to be open, because it's going to be open SSL certificate we will be using. So open SSL key type RSA. So that's going to be its type. So this is the type of certificate we are generating. Now after that, we say, okay, we want a private key first. So I use camel casing here, private key, and we call open SSL function this time, p key, and we want to generate a new key. So I just pass new here and pass the config. All right, so far so good. Now we can export it as well. So here you simply say open SSL underscore p key underscore export. All right, and when you pass it, you first pass private key, then comma, then you need to pass dollar private key, and we want a PEM file, so it's going to be PEM. Okay, now what we want to do next line, and that's the output PEM file. Now we need to basically want to make sure that same way we need to export the public key. That is a bit different, not exactly the same. So you simply say public, and I use key details, and I pass it to open SSL p key get details, then pass here private key, not the PEM, private key only. And when you do that, you here get the public key PEM. All right, that's going to be dollar public key details, and they're going to be a key inside. So whatever you get from here, from a private key, we are extracting the public key, which is going to be in the key as a key. So you will get the public key there. Now we need to save these files inside this directory, not just want to show there. Tell like here there is a directory named keys, put inside a private underscore key dot pem, and then comma, we pass the private key pem here like this. Okay, the same way, exactly the same way. Public key pem, and at last you can give a message as well, fully. Alright, so this is the complete function of your private and public keys. So this is how you generate them. Now it will call automatically once you do this. We go to index. Here we have the class. So what I do is simply say here, new functions. Now we call this class. This goes to constructor. The constructor will run this function and it will create these files. So if all is good, it should work. So currently it is not going to do anything because our React application is not talking to PHP, so we can directly access this PHP because I have a local server running. So here if I say hello and I put exit, so that we can see that hello from PHP. Okay, so we want to see this if it is working. So for that I need to go to localhost, and it's 99, I think. Hello from PHP, so you can see that. So when we will be calling the React to go to an API, it will go to this localhost 99, and that is the API address we need to look for. So as we have the this running here, that means we can generate the public and private key. So I remove this and we go back and refresh, and then now you can see that it says it's generated successfully. I go back here, back in code. Now we have our private key, and as well as we have our public key. Now noticeable thing is you just need these once. So when this is done, go to functions.php and just don't call this function again, because that's all. You got your private key and public key. In case you want to reuse it, you can do it, but you don't need to. Call the React Toastify this package so that we can show the alerts. You need to install it, so you just go here and copy the command and run it, as well as the Axios. So this is the link, and you can get the links in the description, so just get it from there. Copy this command and without dollar, just this portion, and run it. Once that is done, you will have in your package.json these React Toastify as well as Axios. So we need these, and we will be using these. Now what I'm going to do, I want to check the user authentication. So far on click of login button, we are doing nothing. So what we can do, we can run a function here. So I say on click. So I want to run a function, and I say authenticate user. So first we're gonna check if user is authenticated. So here I say constant, and it's going to be an arrow function. And here I'm gonna say if not email or not password. Alright, if any of these is missing, we want to alert. So I already installed the Toastify package. So what I can do, we can use that Toastify package. So here basically what we need to do is, once you install it, installation is done, you need to import it on top of your file. So that's what we do. We go here, and yeah, here we can import it on top. Now we need to call the toast container. So we need to copy this, and here where the form is ending, this here, I call this like this. Alright, so this is required to include according to the documentation you can see here at the bottom, and then you can show your messages like this. Just put like this. So you go back here, and here where we have that both email and it's not present. So here I want to change it to email and password both required. Alright, you can change the position, so you can pass an object. Here you can say position, and I want to say bottom center, and also I want to add the auto close, and then it is going to be 5 seconds. After this, I don't want to execute anything further. If anything, one of these is missing, just stop the script. So if I go back here and go to the app of ours, and here what I do, remove the password, login. It says here, okay, let's go to the documentation. They're adding the CSS as well. Copy this, go back and paste just below it, save it. Now let's go back and see if it works. So you can see that it is both required. It just came up here. So that's perfectly fine how it's supposed to work. If we get either email or password missing, it will stop here. But if we get the username, email and password, we need to proceed. So let's deal with that here. So what I want to do, I want to first of all set a state. So I say here constant, and that's going to be authenticated, and then set authenticated. Alright, this is the state. Use state, and by default we want to make it you can pass null or you can pass false, whatever you prefer. So here we can put this like this, true, so that this guy is authenticated. So for now I'm just gonna put it here. You're not doing any API call, but just straight away authenticating it, so that it will be a bit quicker and we will be able to deal with it, but you can later on put it in the API call. Now we also have Axios. We can call Axios to make an API call. So import Axios from Axios. Alright, now when you call it, then you can use it. So here we can say Axios and then dot post, and I want to, now we need to get the data from the backend. So our backend is, if you remember, 99. This is what we fired last time. So we need to copy this. So we need to go here and put it as a URL. So HTTP localhost 99. So whatever your backend going to be here. Alright. So that's how it is going to be. This is our backend. So after that, if you want to pass some data, open a curly bracket here and pass key and value. So I say email and as well as password. This authentication is going to be quite basic, but you will get the idea how to implement the process. So here you said then we say function, and what that function will do, it will get a response. That's the main thing. Once you have a response, what we can do here, we can say if there is response.data, and we will pass a key there, authenticate, because we want to authenticate the user. So we will be adding a key. Currently we don't have it, but we will. So once that is done, we can put here a similar message like this toast, and we can put here. Now I said this set authenticated there. You can put it here once the response is back, but for now I'm just gonna leave it here. But in real world application you will be putting inside here, so that once you have it, because I just want to work with the token and the process, how things work with token. So I'm putting it outside because later on it will be a bit quicker, and I won't need to wait for this response to come. Here what I want to do, I want to make it also await. So await, the function needs to be async to be correct. Now the main reason we are authenticating a user, we will be getting a token back. So the access token that we will be generating. So we need another state that is going to handle that token. So I say here constant, and I call this as a token. So I say here set token. Here, what are we gonna do? We're gonna just set token, and we will get that value in backend like that we will get authenticated as well as token, these two values. So this will set the token for us, and after that we can say, okay, if this is done, that's it. That's all we want. Okay. Now let's work with this endpoint. So we don't have this currently set up. So for that, it will go to the main page. Main page means here, and this is going to fire the index.php, which is currently empty. It will fire this functions.php, which has currently a function which is already commented. So what we need to do, we need to set up a function here which is going to be responsible for generating the tokens. But before that, let's first authenticate the user. So here what I do, I'm gonna start a try statement straight away. So let's set these variables up. So here $host, in your case it might be localhost. In my case it is DB because I'm using Docker, and which is pointing towards this. Then here we need to set up the DB name. So DB name, which is going to be, I gave it socks. You can give it anything. So if I go to browser, I already have. So if in here, if you see the, I will also share the Docker file as well as the Docker YAML file. So if you want to set up exactly the same way, so you can see here I have the PHP application set up. If you don't know about this, don't care about it. It's just in case if you want to match it with Docker. So here I'm just setting the application on 99 port. That's the reason you are seeing when we go to 99, then it shows our code running. Other than that, we have MySQL set up. So we have our database name, username, password set up here. And also here we are mentioning the PHP MyAdmin, where we are able to see. So if we visit to port 8181, so there we can see the database. So let's see, if I go to localhost 8181, here the password is root, then here it's socks, and here we have two tables. This is I created behind the scenes. You can create it yourself if you want to. I will leave, I'll show you how basically these tables are. Users tables, only one entry, username, menu, email, test@test.com, password 1234, and created_at is the date. Structure, it's simple, it is varchar, and the email is varchar, password is varchar, and created_at is timestamp. ID is primary key. Now the same way refresh token, we have a token saved here, and there is expiry date which is sent to the end of the month. Single token here. Now in your case you might want a different approach, but I'm gonna use a refresh token from here. So I have these two tables. Structure wise, token is long text, expires, timestamp. ID is auto increment. That's all it is. So that's what we have in our Zox database table. And that's what we are mentioning basically here. Nothing more. Here, I close the Docker file, go to index.php. Here we have the DB name. Now you know how these are coming. Username. Now this is all is coming from here. So if I go back here, you can see that the password and the username, MySQL username. So I'll close this. So these variables are not there, so connection is there. So we can do the query. So let's do the query now. It's time to get the user authenticated. Now I showed you already that there is a database table with users and there is a user already present. So this will work. So let's do it. So as I say, as a $data is equal to, or let's give it a result. And I say here $con query. Now $con is basically connection. And here I say select. Here I've set a variable authenticated. By default I set it to false. Then here what I want to say, if MySQLi num rows, and I pass here $result. Alright, if it is positive, loop through them. Each row is going to be MySQLi fetch sock pass $result. Alright, and then here we want to say if $row, as we know that the username is Manu, or the email is the test email, so we can put a check here basically. So we say test@test.com. Alright, if this is it, or we can also check like $row password equals 1234. If these both conditions are met, authenticated becomes true. Alright, now the user is authenticated, and now we can respond to our API call. So here echo, we say JSON, so we need to return data in JSON format, so we pass an array, and the first is going to be authenticated, which is going to be equal to, as it's array, now you can pass this variable here. So simply copy this variable and paste it here, comma. Now here you can say token. Now if you remember, in the front end we mentioned that we will get authenticated, so this should be a boolean as it is in the if condition, and then we get the token. So here we will get the token. Now in our case we have the authenticated now. Initially, okay, there's spelling mistake I think, so correct that. Initially it was false, now here it will become true, and then here it will be assigned. Okay, so far so good, but we don't have token. So what do we want to do? We want to use a function from functions.php now. So we need to create a function. So here I call a function. So we use the class like this. So we say new functions, and then any method. So here we can say generate token. Now currently we don't have this one, so we go there and it will generate a token. That's the whole purpose for this one. So here let's do that. $private key file get content. Alright, and where it is going to get it from, key, and then inside there private key .pem. Okay, there is the file. So it is going to read that file and going to deal with it. Now here $token, we need some values. So first value is going to be issuer, who issued. So let's say Zox, and then what is the subject? So subject is something about it. So I say we are doing it for token tutorial. Alright, that's what we are doing it for. Then here when it is issued, so I'm I had. So that's when issue at. So you pass the current time like this, and you can also say, okay, there is expiration time as well. So whatever is the time, you can add time to it. So what I do, I add like 10 seconds. So you just pass like this, 10 seconds. So it will add 10 seconds. And then here, now you don't want 10 seconds, you will be wanting the token to work for a bit longer than 10 seconds, but I just pause this so that we can test it quickly. At last, they're going to be the UID, which is going to be the unique ID. Any ID you can give it here. For now, I just say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You can give any unique ID. And at last, we need to generate a token. I say return, and that's going to be JWT.
Looks like you haven't set up any HomeKit accessories.
So we say JWT, and basically we are using a package here, and we say encode, and then we pass some values. So we first pass this array token. Alright, and then we say here second private key, and third we pass the algorithm. So we say here RS 256. Alright, now if I see here imported, it imported it just fine, Firebase. If I go to the composer JSON, this package is there, but if you need to search for it, just search for it on Google like this. It's Firebase PHP JWT. Just go there and scroll down. You can install it. Composer, run this command, it will install it for you. You need to include it the same way we included it in functions.php. You can see on top. And then what we need to do, we are passing a payload, which is calling token there. So here, and it's better to call it payload actually. Payload. Pause the payload and the private key. Then here it is going to encode, and you can see that they are passing the algorithm. So more you can read here. So what we need to do, we basically returning it. And here it's RS256, nothing more. And so far so good. Okay, it's the string type, it has a return type, so that added. So now we can call this function. Now you can see that this function will return a string, which is going to be a token, and that token will be passed to here. Alright, and this will all happen when the user logs in. Let's test it. So we go here to our app, and here I have the network tab open. I clear everything. We have name, email, and password already there. Hit it, we get a post. Go to response, and you can see that we are getting the cores error here. We use the JWT, right? So, and I'm not adding anything in here in catch. So we need to put here exception $E. And now we can just show the message or dump $E get message. So it is going to print the error message in case we get one. So yeah. Now also when you're working with PHP, you can show the errors in PHP. So for that we need to add this code here. So basically I'm saying display error to 1, setting it to a true value, and it should show if there is any error. Here where we are logging in, few things we need to change here. So we are using the generate token here, which is inside functions class. So we need to make sure that we're including this class. For now, I'm gonna comment the with credential, and here also we are having vendor folder. So when you use any package, you need to include the autoload.php. So for now, I'm gonna do that too. So require once, and we are going to require that vendor and then autoload.php. These two files should be there. Now as functions is here, so we should be able to access the functions class here. So package, so I'm gonna reinstall it. So here run the command, and also you can try composer to load all the classes. Now let's go back and try again. So okay, now it's going somewhere. We have an error now in file get content here, failed to open stream. So okay, let's see that. So we need to go to, so the directory name is keys, not key. So we're gonna correct that by saying this. So now we should have the token. So if I go here, hit again, now we get authenticate successful. Let's see what the response is. We get authenticated as well as we get a token. Instead of this, we say simply token. And here, hit again, you get token. And now when you go back and return this, you know, now the string will change and this becomes token. So we have a token generation working at place. So far we have user authentication. So we check the user, we go into the database, we match the email and password. Your logic might be a bit different if you want to implement this in your application, but you get the idea how the mainly the authentication is happening. Then we call a function to generate the token, which is basically getting the private key and then generating a token, and then it sends to the front end that token. Now we will need to do a call from front end along with this token, and then we need to verify that token using public key. So for this, what we do, we go to the front end code, and there we have the set token. So here we are setting the token. So what I can do, I can set a use effect, and use effect will check if the token changes. Then we call and verify that token. So that what are we gonna do? I say use effect, and here in dependency, I'm gonna pass the token because we are setting the token here, and then that token, it will be checked here. Now here inside it, what do we want to do? I want to say set timeout. I'll give a bit of a timeout here, and that timeout will be, let's give it 1 second. And then inside it, I say if there is a token, what I want to do, I want to verify that token. So I say async function, and it's going to be function. I say validate token. All right. Now you might want to get the posts for your blog requests or any function or comments or any functionality where you want to implement this. But here, I'm just gonna verify the token. So because we don't have much to do on this application as it's too basic. Now here, what I want to do inside it, I'm going to put here try statement and try catch basically. Now, so any error happens, that goes to catch. Now here in try, what we're going to do is say constant, that's going to be a response, and this response is going to be from await as we are in the sync. So I want to use the Axios here, but with a different way. So what I do first, I show you this way, post, and then I pass here the URL, and I'm gonna say here validate, just simple string validate .php. All right, that's it. And what we want to pass to it, as we want to verify the token, we need to send the token. So that's what we are sending. So this is what I want to do. And here we can say then if there is response, we can we already have that toast in place, so we can use that toast and we can use it here. So if you have, or you get the idea basically. We just verify the token. If there is any error, I want to see in the console.log error there, so it will show us the error. Now this is a function and we haven't called this function, right? So we need to call it. So inside the token, in this statement, we can call it like here. Now this will call this function. Now here is a thing. First of all, we got the error use effect is missing, so we need to import use effect. So where you have use state, go there and put use effect. So now we have use effect. Another error you're gonna get is the Axios, because here, if you remember a previous call, we said post to a URL, which is HTTP localhost and the port number. Now here we are simply saying validate.php, and Axios won't be able to find it where exactly we need to go. So what do we need to do? We need to set a configuration that you can set in Axios. So in top of your file, you can set here a configuration. So what I say constant, and that's going to be, let's call it dot create, and here you pass the configuration options. For example, base URL. So base URL, what is going to be? It's going to be the HTTP colon / local host and 99. That's where we are getting all the API responses from. We can set the timeout as well. So I pass the timeout as 3000. Then also we can pass the header. So we need to pass header. If you want to pass header as let's say you want to pass the token, so you can pass it like this. So you simply say authorization, and then here we say bearer, and dollar, and then token. Spelling should be correct. So this will attach the token alongside to the request. All we need to do, we need to use this Axios instance in place of this Axios here. So we put it like that. All right. Now, what do we want to do? Let's go and see the PHP side first, and then we will see further. So here, validate.php, currently it has nothing in it, and we need to get the content. So here, first thing first, I want to include the functions.php. So I just copy the code from here actually. What I do is simply copy this portion and put it here. So now we have autoload included, as well as the display address is also on. Correct a few things here. First of all, this function that I'm calling, I call the function and set it, so it won't work. We need to cut it off, and we need to call it outside of it. Now we are putting 1 second of delay because we want to check for the validation token once the token is there, and after 1 second it will check for the if the token is valid. Now, as we are using the Axios instance constant, we can pass it in the dependency array. So this is one thing. Now here I'm passing the token along with the request. We don't need to pass it here. We are passing it in Axios instance, so it's in header. So here you can see we're passing in header bearer token. So we will use from here. So what we need to do now is go back here, refresh, and in our PHP code in validate.php, I'll show you how to do get the token from the header. So here I'm gonna say try statement, get message. Now here, what we're gonna do, we're gonna say $token, and actually first we need to get the headers. So header is going to be Apache underscore request underscore headers. Alright, this is the function. And then once we have the headers, we can check here is set $headers. We can simply extra word up for now. Let's see if we're getting the header here. So headers. Actually, if you remember, we're passing as authorization, so we can check for that. So if we set authorization, we want to print authorization. Okay, so now I go here, login, and here in validate PHP we get that token. Now we don't need this bearer, we can replace it, so go back there, and here what I can do here is that we can use a PHP function. So you can say token is equal to string underscore I replace, it will search for bearer and a space, and it will replace it with empty string inside header authorization. So then we will have only the token, and that token we need to pass and validate it. So for that, what we do, we call a function. So here, what are we gonna do? We're gonna call new, and we use the functions. All right, so we are calling the functions.php, and there we want a function which is going to be the validate token, and all you need to do is pass the token inside it. We don't have this function there right now. We will be adding it in a moment. Alright, so whatever comes from here, we can return it. So we simply say echo, so it will return. Now currently we don't have this function. Go to functions.php, and there we create this function. So here, public function validate token, and we are receiving token, so we can call it here like this, and then we can process it. So to validate the token, you can use the public key. What I'm gonna do, I'm gonna copy this code, which is generate token. I'm gonna paste here. So first thing is the file get content. This time we want to get public key, so we got the key. We don't need the payload, so we can remove that. And then here we can simply say here, let's add a try catch. So I add a try and then catch exception. What I do, I simply go here, copy this. That will save a lot of time, so I'd simply paste right here. And now we need to use the JWT, so I cut this line and go inside the tries block here, and this key is a public key, so we call it public key. Alright, and here we want to say decode, and then we want to pass here token. So we're getting it from as a argument. Then we call here the key, which is the dollar public key. And I noticed I added key twice, so we remove that. The algorithm is going to do the same, and yeah, a bit of formatting will change. Here always say new, and then we say key, and we pass the public key, comma, algorithm. That's how it takes. So now it will be able to decode it. Now, when it decodes, we say decoded. We create a variable, and here I want to say we want to check something. So if decoded, and inside it there is a subject. So if you remember, when we were generating, we added the subject like here, token tutorial. So it should match. So we say if the subject is token tutorial, that means okay. It's not going to be token tutorial or a simple word in your case. You might want to have some complex password or string, something that no one can guess, so you can test accordingly. So that will make it more secure. But for now, here we passed, when we generated the token, we added this, and you can also add the custom key here, like some username and password like this, and based on that you can do that. But for now I'm just showing you like how you can do it. So here, token tutorial, I'm checking with this, and then I say here, if it matches, return true, and outside of it I say return false. So if this matches and token validates, then it will return true, otherwise it's not. Okay, 10 seconds and then this token will be expired. So we can also put that in place as well for that check. What I do, I use one of the exception provided by JWT, so we will use that here. So what we need to say, we say catch, and inside it we're gonna say expired expired exception $e. All right, and here I'm gonna simply say if $e get message, it is equals to expired token, then we need to refresh the token. So what we do, we call $this, and then here I say refresh token function. Now we don't have this function, so if the token is expired, it is going to call automatically this function, and this function should return the token. So here I'm gonna add this function, and now let's work on this one. So if you remember, initially I showed you that there is in the database we have let me show you here. I created a token refresh. There is a token with the expiry time, which is end of the month. So that means that token, it will be there and it will be valid for a particular time for that user. So you can authenticate the user, and if user is valid, then you can do the similar thing after validation. So what I want to do here is I want to first of all get the connection. So we don't, let me see if we have any. So I haven't connected here in this file. So what I do in the constructor, I quickly add the connection. So in index we did that. So here you can copy from here all this and put here. And here for now I'm just gonna create public $connection, and here we can say $this. You can put these variables outside, totally up to you, but I'm just gonna do it straight away so that we won't take much time. So we have connection now. Now when I go back here in our function for refresh token, here we can use this connection. So here I can say query, and in the query what I want to do, I want to get that token. So select all from refresh token table. Now once I get it, I just put it in a variable, and here if mysqli rows, pass here dollar result, and here I say while $row equals mysqli fetch a sock, and we pass dollar result. And here what we want to do, we simply want to say basically a condition if $this time in future. That means our token is valid, the refresh token. As you know in the database that the refresh token will expire at the end of the month. So we are just checking that if the refresh token is still, we can use it or not. So here I'm gonna say okay $row, and we are looking for expires, which is the column name here, expires, and then we get the value. You can put a different logic, but for now, for this tutorial, I think this is good enough to get this. Time in the future, I'm gonna add this function now, but before that, here all we need to say is this, and we can generate a token. So we can call the generate token function, and we already have this function if you remember. So initially we generate the token, so here this will generate the token and return that token. So that's what it is going to do. And yeah, simple. So now let's first add this check, so that we can say that okay, this token is in future, it's not in past. Because if our in database the refresh token is expired, we don't want user to regenerate access token. $time to check, $time to check. This is a variable which is saying string, directly use them, but for now I just gonna use variables. So I say here $time, and it's gonna be like this, more than equal to $current time. So this will make sure that the date is in future, only then we will be able to generate the token. So then here it becomes true, then it goes inside and generate the token. Alright, so far so good we have here, and you can add the return type as boolean. We can improve a lot of things here. If you don't want this, you can simply cut it like this, put it here, and then have time like this, and put it here. Now even if you want to go one more further step, you simply can do this, because it is going to return you the boolean value. You can see that the whole code becomes a single line. That you can also do. So, but I'm not going to do it this way. I just want to keep it simple so that everyone can understand. So yeah. So let's test it if our code works now. So here, okay, I restored it. I'll also leave it here and comment, so in case you want to check it. Alright, let's go back here, and here, refresh. Now if you notice, I haven't used the React router for the authentication, because the main purpose was to show you the access tokens and the usage. You can use them with the router as well. I'll try to make another video to do and show you that as well. But for now, this shows us how the whole process works. So here we have the email and password. We hit login. First call goes, it gives us authenticated successful. Second call goes, we get one return. So if I go to request, let me go back to the code. The second call is in our use effect. So if you see here, we are expecting response as boolean, and once we get the response, we get it. So what we can do, we can even copy and check here, console.log for response. Also, if I go back here, you can see that it is going to validate .php. So if I go back to the PHP, in validate.php, we are getting the header, we got the token, and we pass the token to our function. So whatever will be returned will be echoed and returned back to the front end. Inside this validate token, when you go inside it, here is the whole magic happening. So here we are using the public key, which is we generated initially. Using that public key, we decoded the code. We check that okay, and token, we have the string that we initially set when we were generating the code. So you might want to have different stuff here, but you can do that. And if it is true, then return true. So it validates it. But we are also checking expiry. So if it is expired, we get this. And this exception throws, and this exception is from JWT. If you scroll top, it's from them, Firebase, JWT, and this fires, and it is going to then basically going to call generate refresh token. Now refresh token gets the refresh token saved in database. It checks if it is valid. Only then it allows user to generate token and exit. Alright, time in future, it checks that that particular token is into future or not. Now we can do one thing here. The token expires in 10 seconds. I say let's expire in 2 seconds. In valid token, on top, what we do, we say sleep for 3 seconds and then start validating. So you get the idea. The token is valid for 2 seconds only, and the sleep will start later, so token should be expired. If you go to the front end code, there is also a timeout we have, which is 1 second. So the thing is, we also have a timeout in the Axios instance. So we need to comment this out so that the code can run more than 3 seconds, and then you go back to here, and I'm gonna change it to, let's say, 5 seconds. Alright, so after 5 seconds, start validating it. And to see if we are reaching here, what I do is simply echo here. Or what I do is simply say $E so that we get the message straight from the exception, and then I say here exit. Okay, so it will tell us that if the token is expired. So we go back here now, refresh, and now I hit login. Now we go to validate, and we get the expired token. So that's the string we get here, and then we are checking that, and then we are going inside refresh token. So you can even check further. So if we go to refresh token, then we go here and we can check if time in future, and here we can print this token. So I put this here and exit, and let's see what happens. So if I go and refresh, now here now in our headers we pass the token, right? So if I go here, the token is ending with 4ZW, and then if we're in response, we see we have a new token. So let's see how it is ending. It is ending with EIA, so it's a different token. You can get that it's generated it, and here the one we sent was different. Alright, so that's how you do it basically. So now if I remove this, and all should be working just fine. You can extend it as well. We don't need this sleep anymore, so we can remove it. You can You don't want 2 seconds to expiry of the token. You want more time. Let's say 1 hour, so something like that, or 1 day. Well, depending on your requirements, you can put here. And if we go back to the Visual Studio here, you can put timeout to 5 seconds or no timeout, totally up to you. It's your call. Alright, so this is how it works. So we generated the token using private key, and then I decoded it using public key. We used the authentication to check user, and we also check the refresh token, how it is working, and how we can use a particular token to renew our tokens. So yeah, this is something that you can include in your application as well. And the code for this video will be available for download. Check the description code link. Thank you for watching, and do subscribe to the channel. Have a nice day. See you next time.